Hi, my name is Sumayyah and I'm the project coordinator for emergency volunteering at Volunteering WA. I'm developing a spontaneous volunteer management system for Western Australia. This is a National Disaster Risk Reduction grant funded project. The aim of the project is to assist with the achievement of 2030 disaster risk reduction goals for Western Australia. As part of the project, I did investigate how spontaneous volunteers engaged in different emergencies in Western Australia. So I looked into 5 recent emergencies, and some of the key themes and recommendations that emerged from that research is published online, and we can discuss it now. First of all, before the disaster, it was identified that it was important to design strategies that are specific to the organization, to the emergency context, and the type of volunteering that may occur. This involves planning appropriate strategies for the arrival of spontaneous volunteers so that it avoids confusion, and clearly outlining the trigger point when the extra surge for each community would be required. It was also identified that it was important to plan for each step of engagement with spontaneous volunteers. So as part of the research, a spontaneous volunteer life cycle has been identified. It is available online as well. It will allow you to prepare lists of tasks and job descriptions in advance that can be modified to suit the disaster situation. Another important recommendation was open and clear communication, which means creating a unified message and unified communication so that it's easy for the community to understand. Engaging philanthropies, identifying and creating relationships with them in the preparatory phase in each city, in each locality is also important. And also identifying avenues for donation in advance. So creating an awareness of the items that already exist with the official responders or at the evacuation centers, and then items and monetary aid that might be needed. And most importantly, considering a spontaneous volunteer engagement officer or spontaneous volunteer manager as the first point of contact for the community. So consider appointing a person who is able to engage with the community, to coordinate different tasks with them. But someone who gets to understand the community before a disaster happens, listens to their needs, and identifies the skills and resources that are already available in the community so that they can support them accordingly. During a disaster, it was identified that it's important to ensure a uniform and simple registration process. A lot of spontaneous volunteers had issues with the registration forms and not having enough quantity. They felt it was very time-consuming for them. So it was suggested that it would be good if we had a simple registration form that requires the same information across all volunteer involving organizations that can be completed once and then shared among different organizations. Another important observation was collaboration with various organizations, ensuring that all volunteer involving organizations in the emergency management space work together to support each other, and that there's no division or competition between them, which some of the spontaneous volunteers felt that they could identify that. Again, with collaboration, there's this important recommendation of compartmentalizing tasks. So dividing tasks into discrete categories to speed up task selection and completion. This may include duty cards with roles and safety requirements displayed to set locations and handed to the individuals. A very important recommendation was ensuring safety. So checklists should be prepared in advance that can be read in advance and signed by the community members who wish to contribute towards recovery and response efforts. So they can sign those at the registration point. And then another important issue was avoid branding issues. So a lot of the spontaneous volunteers felt confused they felt inconvenienced when they had a variety of branded clothing items, hats, vests, etc., that they had to then exchange or remove and use every time they opted to go and volunteer with another organization. When it comes to after the disaster, there were 2 major recommendations. First of all, consider a feedback loop and a communication loop. So encouraging the spontaneous volunteers to complete feedback surveys and then taking that response into consideration for future strategies, and then future engagement and retention opportunities, informing the spontaneous volunteers about future opportunities that might be available to them through some way or the other. Maybe having their emails or having their contact information so they can be informed and updated regularly.